Wednesday, you know what that means. First look, let's unbox something. Let's take a look inside and see what we can find. Today, Dopex, a decentralized options exchange. Do you know anything about options? I will admit, they fry my head. And why do you think on that? Let's hear from our sponsors. Scam wicks, insider order books, cascading liquidations. Suffer these compromises no longer when trading crypto futures. Enter GMX, a futures and swaps dex with low swap fees and zero price impact trades. Aggregated high-quality price feeds provide fair liquidations and pricing. GMX is available on Arbitrum and now Avalanche. Trade BTC, ETH, AvaX, and more securely from your wallet with up to 30 times leverage. GMX is mobile and desktop native, including limit orders and stop losses. Visit gmx.io today to start trading, learn about high-yield opportunities, and discover the Blueberry community. So here's a fun fact. In 2021, Ethereum traders lost over $200 million to malicious bots exploiting their trades. As DeFi continues to gain popularity, this number, well, it's expected to rise. Eden Network is a next-generation private transaction service for Ethereum, providing traders with MEV protection by submitting transactions directly to miners and away from the prying eyes of harmful bots. They can see me. Using Eden Network for Ethereum transactions results in better and safer trades. While MEV protection doesn't require any stake, traders who do stake Eden and use the Eden RPC on MetaMask receive transaction block priority, and now with the release of Staker Extractable Value, SEV, they're paid for every trade they make on Ethereum. Eden Network recently launched Eden Rocket RPC, which compiles some of Ethereum's fastest private transaction networks, resulting in 90% plus effective hash rate. This makes Eden Rocket RPC the fastest private transaction network available, protecting you from bots. Launched on August 5th with EIP 1559, Eden Network successfully closed a $17.4 million seed round led by Multicoin Capital with participation from Alameda Research, Jump Capital, Wintermute, GSR, and Defiant Capital. Genesis Capital executive Joshua Lim and Andre Cronje of Yearn Finance also participated as angel investors. Join the best and get started with Eden Network today and trade safer. So today we're talking about options, and what are options? Well, they're derivatives basically, and they give you, the buyer, the right but not the obligation to buy or sell an underlying asset at an agreed upon price and date. You have put options, which are when you want to sell, and call options when you want to buy. And basically they're used as very sophisticated, I'm going to turn that off, methods of hedging the market and hedging risk, and they're used in TradFi. It's been slightly slow seeing the uptake of these more advanced financial products in crypto for various different reasons, partly due to expense, but a lot of it's to do with oracles. Accurate pricing in crypto is tough, and this is why options have been slightly slow to pick up, but more and more sophisticated things are coming along. And also, crypto and DeFi are finding their own weird and wonderful ways to deliver a parallel product in DeFi. And that's why Dopex is interesting, is because they found a way to mitigate some of the risk associated with buying options or being a supplier of options in the market. So essentially it works like this. If you, let's say you want an option, you pay me $5 and I'll give you the option of buying XYZ for $10 from me in a few days at the market price. If the market price increases to a lot more, then obviously you'll want to buy that token or that whatever it is from me for $10 because your buy price is going to be a lot cheaper than the market price. But then the market price could also drop way below that, in which case you are not going to want to buy XYZ at that market value. Instead, you just buy the market price for that. So that's why you're basically kind of saying, well, if the market goes one way, which I think it will do, then I'll get a better price for the asset that I want. And in fact, I don't even have to exercise that option if I don't want to. But you will obviously pay a premium for the privilege. So Dopex is a decentralized options protocol, and they've kind of got these three main goals, which is to maximize liquidity, minimize losses for option writers, and maximize gains for option buyers, all in a passive manner for liquidity contributing participants. So if you think back to the biggest kind of problem that DeFi has to solve, it's liquidity. It's routing enough money and liquidity into places where it's required in order for things to function properly. And most DeFi protocols operate on a fairly small scale, so that's not that big a deal. But when you're talking about options and derivatives, it's a huge market, absolutely immense. And if we can port that into DeFi, then that would be huge, of course, but you need the liquidity to support it. Now, we're talking about really sophisticated, high-level traders with lots of money who want accurate pricing and a system that's not going to collapse under its own weight when they need the liquidity there. So this is really early days for this. But one of the key things that pops out on Dopex is this offset tail risk. We'll come back to these rebates and what they mean in a bit. But for traders, there's more liquidity, so they have asset pools, and liquidity providers earn DPX tokens while providing liquidity. DPX tokens are the native governance tokens for the platform. These earn fees from options buying on the platform. So periodically, those fees are then routed to those who are staking the DPX token. So you have these option pools. These will allow users to earn a yield passively by providing a base asset and quote asset liquidity for users who'd like to buy call and put options respectively. This is not a tutorial about using options in DeFi. Maybe we'll do something on that at a later date. It's quite complicated. But once you get your head around it, it's not so bad. Then there's also these SSOVs, these single staking option vaults. And these allow users to lock up tokens for a specific period of time and then earn yield on those staked assets. Users will be able to deposit assets into a contract, which then sells those deposits as call options to buyers at fixed strikes that they select for end-of-month inquiries. And it's worth digging into those SSOVs a little bit, which we will do later on. The rebates. So one of the big things here is if you are supplying options as a writer, you can be quite heavily at risk, particularly in volatile markets, if things go against you. So we know that happens in crypto a lot, and that can be off-putting, let's put it that way. So what Dopex is offering is the possibility of mitigating that risk with a rebate. So option writers, as they say, are compensated with RDPX tokens after every epoch relative to the losses accrued from options written during this period. What? So supply liquidity for options, be a writer of an option, and then the risk goes away because you get these RDPX tokens. What? So that's the rebate DPX token, and then there's obviously the DPX token, and yeah, I mean, I guess they're trying to make it more attractive for people to write these options and supply the liquidity where it's needed. But I've never seen anything like it. It's kind of wild. So we have farms. And once we look into the app itself, you see it's kind of all fairly familiar. You can earn yield on Dopex by supplying DPX WETH liquidity and RDPX WETH liquidity. And for that, you can earn DPX and RDPX. And then there's the single staking option vaults. So you just supply liquidity to that. You can also buy options from the vaults as well. But you're going to collect premiums from option purchases, but you'll also be earning rewards from the farms at the same time. So it's a fairly kind of nice recipe for earning yield there. The yields aren't massive, but that's actually a good thing. I think you don't want to see 1,000, 2,000% yields anymore, because it's going to be gone the next day. So here's how it works. Prior to the beginning of a new epoch, strikes are set for the month end. Users then lock assets into this vault, select fixed strikes they'd like to sell calls at, and then the contract deposits the user's tokens into a single staking pool for farming rewards, and also earns a yield from selling covered calls. There's a bunch of clever stuff going on. If you look at the documentation for Dopex, there's things like this. This shows you how the entire thing flows. Bakes my noodle, bakes my brain. I don't understand most of it, but that's fine. Actually, what we should do is do a tutorial on it. We'll do that at a later date. But let's get back to this. From these SSOVs, you'll be able to purchase calls from the vaults using the base asset. That's fairly self-explanatory. And then on the platform front end, users will be able to use stablecoins or ETH for purchases, but these are actually routed through SushiSwap and then swapped to the base asset of the SSOVs. There's a bunch of clever stuff going on under the hood, but the UX itself is very nice, very sleek, makes it very straightforward. If you are depositing into an SSOV, you then receive yield proportional to how close to ATM strikes are being locked into, and users don't lose any USD notional value. However, they do have a chance of losing a percentage of staked assets. So what I guess they're saying is these will appeal to USD denominated traders, not necessarily ETH denominated traders. So you won't care how much ETH or other tokens you get back. You just care the dollar value of your deposit. And the supported assets are DPX and RDPX in these SSOVs. So we've already gone through these two different tokens. You've got DPX, which accrues fees and revenue, and then RDPX. RDPX will also be usable as collateral for synthetic assets. So they talk about being able to create synths in the documentation. So they're looking at stocks, commodities, ETFs, indices, and cryptocurrencies. And they're going to be using the UMA protocol to create these. Not sure how those are going to work just yet, but that looks like a fairly exotic, fairly fun thing there on the platform as well. Here's the roadmap. The single staking option vaults are open. I think the option pools are already open. The OTC portal, I'm not sure if that's open yet. We have some option strategy vaults and then insured stablecoin pools. Insured being the operative word there. Insurance is going to be a big deal this year. I can just feel it. I can smell it. Like sophisticated insurance. Yes. For Robin, these are notes from Alp, who put this presentation together. 2 reasons why he thinks Dopex is big. It's not just about options. Dopex features 2 mechanisms deeply embedded in DeFi: farming, LPing, and staking. Degens pile in for APY. Well, that's true, but I do think that rebate mechanism is really the big selling point here. Also, Tetranode, DeFi God. If we go down here, you can see a list of the investors and partners. You have these guys. And I don't really know about this, but Tetranode, well, it speaks for itself. Tetranode, big deal. So it's kind of interesting. Let's go and dig into the app. So the app itself is on Arbitrum. So this is running on a layer 2 for speed. And if you've ever played around with derivatives before on the ETH main chain, oh my gosh, it's painful. Oh my gosh, so painful. Just every time you need to be operating at a severe, like a big old scale. So we're looking at the farms page at the moment. Nothing particularly unusual here. Got some options here to buy DPX and Compound. We can stake DPX, and you'll definitely want to be doing that to gain the fees from the platform itself. Some liquidity pairs here, all good. And then on the SSOV, the single staking option vaults, hopefully that'll load up. I think, no. Let's see. Let's give it another chance. Yeah, there we go. There are the single staking option vaults. So you've got the option to manage. So I can deposit in here. So if I wanted to deposit DPX, I could. I get a list of the strike prices here that I want. And then I can have a look at the epochs there, or I can buy call options directly here as well if I wanted to, and have a look. There would be a list of the things that I have purchased. So I get instant feedback there. But generally the UX is very nice, and I suspect it's probably very simple to use. But that rebate mechanism, what about that? So that was a very, very, very quick look at Dopex. If you are interested in learning more about how all of this works, there is actually a list of episodes that they've called Dopex Essentials for Beginners. And these small posts, they say, will introduce you to the world of options and help you understand the basics. I always go through the documentation for these DeFi protocols because you learn a lot about whether the protocol has actually bothered to teach you how to use it. But here, you can learn about the Greeks, the Theta, the Vega, Gamma, Delta, and basically get up to speed with how to use options as part of your DeFi trading strategy. It's definitely worth looking into that. If you have any suggestions for us to cover in First Look, please do drop them in the comments below. There are a bunch of really cool and interesting things out there, but they may not necessarily be the things that everybody's talking about. So we're trying to get a balance between the weird and wacky stuff out there and then the stuff that everyone is interested in and is big and bold and cool. But yeah, just drop us suggestions and we'll see if we can cover them. And go follow Alp Gazimov on Twitter because he is now in charge of First Look and scouting for First Look projects. And of course, we are on a mission to get to 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. And you may think I'm a fool for saying this, but when you look as handsome as I do, anything is possible. Ha 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 ha! Gotcha. That's the end of the show. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.